Hey everyone, welcome back to Informed Mommies. Today I'm going to be talking about choosing a pediatrician for your little one. Being a transplant in this area with no friends out here, I wasn't even sure where to begin my search for a pediatrician for Elle. I wanted something close by, friendly, and easy to reach. I ended up asking my obstetrician for recommendations, and she handed me a whole huge list of pediatricians that they recommend and work with. Right from the start, I had to begin narrowing down my search based solely on location. A lot of the offices were located in Philly, and that was out of the question. I didn't want to travel more than 20 minutes from home, whether it was a sick visit or a well one. I called up 2 offices in my area and set up a meet and greet appointment where I could see the office, meet one of the doctors in the practice, and ask any questions that I might have about the care that Elle would receive. Just the recommendations from the OB were not enough for me. I had to do my own research as well. When I was doing my research, I found a whole list of questions that you can ask potential doctors so that you can narrow down your search. So I took that list and asked whatever questions I felt were the most important to me with me when I went. A big point on that list that I had never even thought of before was having a separation between sick patients and well ones. Unfortunately, neither of the 2 offices that I visited had a separate area for sick patients. After meeting with and speaking with both offices, I ended up choosing the second of the 2. Their facility seemed newer, cleaner, more modern, and more child-friendly. After Elle was born, we brought her in for her first few visits together, until COVID happened, and then only one parent could go into the office with her. My husband would come and wait in the car. As time passed, I began to notice that it was becoming increasingly difficult to get a hold of somebody on the phone. I kept telling myself, it's just because of the pandemic, they're probably short-staffed, and I tried to ignore it. But it was starting to get pretty ridiculous how long I had to wait on hold for the simplest thing. Or even worse, to wait so long to just have the reception staff brush me off. When we were getting ready to introduce allergen foods for the first time, I called the office to ask about the correct dosage of Benadryl for Elle, a 6-month-old, because they had told me at my last visit that she could take children's Benadryl, but the box did not have any dosage for anyone younger than the age of 2. I had to wait for about 3 hours for them to return my call, and by that point we were done with solids for the day. Whenever I was introducing new foods, I preferred to do so earlier in the day, so that any potential allergic reactions would be noticed quicker before naps and bedtime. When I was calling to make her 12-month appointment, I was put on hold for about 8 minutes. They picked up and said, "Please hold," before I could say anything. And instead of putting me back on hold, just put the phone down on the table. I could still hear what was being said in the office and what was going on around me. About 5 minutes passed, and then someone picked up the phone and hung it up. I was livid. So furious, I called back to only wait on hold another 7 minutes. And when they picked up the phone and said, "Please hold," I interrupted her and said, "Actually, no, I can't hold. I've been already waiting for 15 minutes and I already was hung up on once. I just want to make my daughter's appointment. That's all." She said, "Oh, okay, hold on a second," and then put me on hold again. I just wanted to scream. A few weeks later, when she was teething like crazy, I had to call for the dosage of Tylenol because once again, the box says for the children under the age of 2, call the doctor for the correct dosage. My office is closed from 12 to 1 for lunch. I called at 11:40 thinking, they've got to answer the phone before they go to lunch, right? It's 20 whole minutes. They've got to get to me. Nope. I waited on hold for about 20 minutes, praying that they would pick up because she was screaming endlessly. I finally left a message and then waited 3 excruciating hours for them to call me back. And when they finally did, it was to tell me, "Oh, you know, the dosage charts are on our website, right?" She didn't even tell me the correct dosage and then tell me, "Oh, by the way, in the future, you can look online for our dosage chart." She didn't even give me an answer. I was so done with them at that point. My husband and I said, "We're done. We're finding a new pediatrician. That's it." It got to the point where if something was wrong, I didn't even want to call the doctor. I didn't want to wait on hold. I didn't want to go there at all. I posted on one of my mom's Facebook groups for recommendations for another pediatrician in the area, and I got an overwhelming number of responses about one place in particular. A few days after that, I saw that a friend of mine was interested in attending a virtual meet and greet with that same practice, so I also went to it. It was on Super Bowl Sunday, but during the day, and we watched the whole thing, and my husband and I were both very pleased with what we were seeing. We were pleasantly surprised to hear that they were allowing both parents into well visits, And that though they're not really using the waiting rooms right now because of COVID, they not only have a separate waiting room for sick patients and for well patients, but they have an entirely separate area for newborns to protect them since they're so much at risk. I called them the next day, and they answered on the first ring. Hallelujah, right? Unfortunately, Elle had somehow muted my phone, so the woman couldn't hear me and I didn't realize it. So she hung up. But when I called back, she picked up again on the first ring. I asked her about how I should go about transferring Elle there, and she said that all I needed to do was to get Elle's records sent over. I was so happy that it was going to be simple and easy, except for one thing. This meant that I now had to call the other doctor again and get her records. When I called, I was once again put on hold for an eternity. And then I was told that they couldn't just send the records over. I needed to fill out a records release form, which I could print up off of their website or pick up in the office. I tried to print it at home, but my printer was messing up. It was streaking, it was missing lines. I don't really know what was happening. It's still kind of broken weeks later, but different story. So I went there to fill out the form. When I got there, I called the office to tell them that I was outside like they told me, and then I was on hold for 9 minutes waiting to tell them that I was there. And when I finally got someone on the line and told them I was outside, she said, "Oh, well, did you call the main line or did you call the phone number on the door?" Right, the number I can totally see from my car window. Didn't know that it was a separate number. Whatever. I go in, I fill out my paperwork, and then they tell me that they'll call me when it's ready so that they can tell me what the price is. That's right, I have to pay for my daughter's records. It was $30 for a USB, or I could pay by the page. They said it would probably be cheaper to pay for the $30 USB. That was on the 5th. I waited for them to call me to tell me that it was ready. I waited a whole week, and then I called back on Monday and asked about the status of my records. They transferred me to the records department, and she said, "Oh, I'm just about to do it just now." Right, okay, I believe that. I pay for my USB. She says she'll call me when it's ready, and then I never heard from her. Called back the next day, and I said, "I really need to come get my records today because I need to make my daughter's 15-month appointment." I waited 6.5 whole days to get my USB drive. 6.5 whole business days, I should say. Turns out it probably would have been cheaper to get the USB since it was 56 pages of records. Unfortunately, after I paid for and picked up my USB, I found out that the new doctor's office only takes paper records. And now I need to print them out at home with a broken printer so that I can bring them to the office and finally make her appointment, which needs to be in a few weeks. I can't wait to see how the new office is going to be and how it works for us. But you can bet that if we don't like it, or if we're not happy, or we're not comfortable, we're not going to be waiting a whole another year to switch. I don't want to keep switching Elle from place to place, but we need to find a place where we're all happy and comfortable, a place that we can trust with her health and well-being. Here is my advice to you. When you're choosing a pediatrician, don't always just go with what your OB suggests or what your friends suggest. Look into a lot of different people. Go with your gut. And if you're not happy, switch. Do it early and do it fast before your child or children form a bond with the doctors there. One quick thing is we've never had an issue with any of the doctors at our practice, aside from one time that I felt really judged by a PA. Our issues were mostly with reception and the fact that I didn't trust that I could get the help that I needed when I needed it. This is a super important commitment. This is your child's health. Your child or children's health is in the pediatrician's hands. You need to feel comfortable too. I'm just glad that we're making the switch now, even though we probably should have done it months ago when we first started having issues. It would have saved us so much heartache. So many times I avoided calling them because I didn't feel like dealing with the wait, or dealing with the reception, or dealing with having to be told just to look online. So many times I wished they answered emails because I wanted to send a picture of a rash and get an opinion, or shoot a quick question and get an answer back whenever I could, rather than having to sit and wait on hold for one. Or worse, have them call me back at an unspecified time, which is guaranteed to come as I was trying to put her to sleep. That's all from me for now. I will post an update once we finally see the new pediatrician. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to keep in the loop. See you next time. Bye!